But, John Stewart, I think, made a fair point here. He was discussing what you said, because you're talking about here imaginary problems like the shark problem, et cetera. Let me play you the John Stewart clip and get you to respond.
So this is what it is. Their paranoid fear of a possible dystopic future prevents us from addressing our actual dystopic present. We can't even begin to address 30,000 gun deaths that are actually, in reality, happening in this country every year, because a few of us must remain vigilant against the rise of imaginary Hitler.
So you're worried about the imaginary sharks, and I think he makes a good point. You're worried about the zombies and I don't want to say it in a dismissive way, but you're worried about the government taking over when they haven't, and when we've got real deaths. We've got over 11,000 gun homicides in this country. So isn't that a fair point, Alex?
No, it's not a fair point. They've taken the guns worldwide. In Chicago and New York, when they took the guns, crime rates went up. And so the issue is humans at a primitive level, myself included. I recognize that from the Roman times 2,000 years ago to 1868, when the South passed laws against blacks owning guns, the first gun laws in this country since the founding of the nation, that it was done to disarm a group that people were used to oppressing. And the government's got drones in our skies, weapons, checkpoints, 1.6 billion bullets. It's a balance of power that we need the people armed, and that's why the Second Amendment was put in place there. It's not for duck hunting. And, I mean, listen, I'm not obsessed with my guns. I've got 50 guns because most of them were given to me, from grandfathers and stuff that died. And, I mean, literally, I could go sell these guns. Some of them, one's like an antique black powder shotgun, almost 200 years old. That thing's probably worth 10 grand. But I wouldn't sell it. It's an heirloom. They're like, oh, 50 guns. Yeah, I bought a rifle in 1993 for $200. It's worth $1,500 today. I mean, listen, I bought gold at $300 an ounce, and now it's $1,700 or whatever. You
must be rich.
Well, I'm a successful. Look, I study things. I made a lot of good business decisions, and so I'm into the real world. Let me tell you something. If you're really serious, I will send you a dossier with over 100 quotes of world leaders saying they want to reduce our population by 90% forcibly. That once world government's in place, that's only the beginning. What I wanted to finish up with Nightline was I showed him like 10 clips. She said, here's some books with the quotes. And he goes, the world government you're talking about is a different one than they're talking about. Look, I'm not kooky talking about world government. Goldman Sachs brags they've conquered Europe. They're appointing technocrats in places like Greece and Italy. Okay? I mean, we have global corporate.
Our disagreement, Alex, is that I think you take a kernel of truth, which is that Goldman Sachs has far too much power, and not in New York, just in the European governments, but here as well. And it's because of the way that we have set up the system. And I think you're just taking it to a huge jump forward and then saying it's part of a conspiracy that Hollywood's in on, the government's in on, and they were met in a smoke-filled room and 20 guys decided it. I think it's the structure of corporations and the structure of government that's leading to the problem.
Let me just say this, please, for God's sakes, let me say this to your audience.
Okay.
I told people 7 years ago, because of a Google press release, that they had the patents and were using the cameras on your computers and the systems in your cell phone to have computers listen to you to build psychological algorithms. That was mainstream news 2 months ago. And people are like, so what if schools are watching kids at home with laptops? I mean, I was crazy 15 years ago to tell people they were taking babies' blood at birth to put it in a DNA Pentagon database that was declassified 3 years ago. Okay, look how much we've put up with, man. Look how far it's gone.
But Alex, they also take the blood to make sure that if you have disease later, that you could help the baby. It's not everything's a conspiracy.
No. That the cover story was that, oh, we send it away to the health department, and the cover was that the hospital could have done it right there. I know that's the cover. It's come out. They put it in the database. They always have multifaceted reasons. Listen, you're gonna wish. Don't you have kids?
Yeah, I do.
Listen, deep down, you know we're going into a tyranny. Deep down, you know we're in trouble. And if we don't recognize how tyranny works, is you kind of go downhill slow for a while, and then it drops. Okay, we're hitting the drop-off point, and I'm telling you, I believe everything I'm saying. I've got the research to back it up, and I wish every day that I was wrong or that I was exaggerating to myself. 9 times out of 10 when I do research, it's worse than I said. I mean,
Right.
look at all the secret testing on our troops killing them. And
Alex, look, the problem is you take things that are true, like, yes, the government is taking away your privacy rights. Yes, we're going down this slippery slope. But then you give it a twist that then I'm afraid turns off people, and that isn't, well, obviously I don't think it's true. So that's our disagreement. Let me give you Glenn Beck, who's, of course, a big conservative, et cetera. And he's got a unique theory that you're part of the conspiracy to make gun control, people who are pro-gun seem like the bad guys. Let me run it for you.
Why would Piers Morgan have this guy on? Well, because Piers is trying to have gun control, and he's trying to make anybody who believes in guns and believes in the Second Amendment as not something about sports, but to be able to be a deterrent to an out-of-control government, look like a madman.
I'm just going to let you flat out respond to that.
Glenn Beck, for years, has done all sorts of stuff to me behind the scenes, and I'm sick of him. I mean, the guy makes me sick. I don't sit there and spend all day attacking other media personalities. I mean, I've had a few run-ins with you, a few with Beck, but you haven't done stuff behind the scenes. I mean, I show up at Fox for an interview, and they go, Glenn Beck's throwing a fit, you can't come on. He does stuff to me. He said Ron Paul supporters needed the army to come after him, and that the money bomb was a plan to blow up the government. That's how dumb he thinks his audience is. And I don't sit here and attack Rush Limbaugh. I don't attack Michael Savage. So I'm not going after Beck because I'm in competition against him. Glenn Beck is despicable. Piers Morgan had me on because they wanted to pre-do the interview to say I was wrong to violate his First Amendment. And that's what it was all about, was how dare you try to take my free speech rights when I was just simply trying to point out a foreigner shouldn't be here lecturing us. Nobody else would put up with this. It was all tongue-in-cheek. I told them that. And I actually sat there when I went out there before we went live. I saw his cue cards. It was all about that. It was not about we have a right to own guns to protect ourselves from the government. I brought that up. Glenn Beck has tried to hold me back while I talk to people that have worked with him. He has 5 guys watching everything I do, taking my news articles. Listen, 4 or 5 years ago, he wouldn't talk about any of this stuff. Now he takes it but spins it in a neocon way, and I'm sick of Glenn Beck. I'm sick and tired of him. He's a punk. He called me a fascist. This is a guy who made jokes about torture and said it was a great thing. This is a guy that supports drones. This is a guy that supports the Patriot Act. I was against all that when Bush was pushing it, okay? I'm a constitutional libertarian who loves freedom, and my views are my own. And that little piece of trash needs to know this. He tries to play this collectivist game of, oh, he doesn't speak for us. He's trying to speak for us. Hey, you jackass mainline conservatives don't speak for me. You're the ones that have discredited true conservatism and libertarianism. Thomas Jefferson would spit on you, you little bastard, you little piece of trash. That's what I got to say to Glenn Beck. I'm sick of him. And by the way, you haven't held me back, punk. You're not stopping my signal going out. And I saw that 15-minute clip where he attacked me. They look scared because they're a bunch of Nelly punks who can't stand the fact that I'm the one that's turning the ship around. I'm the one that's got all the conservative hosts aping my information and my talking points because I'm original and I've done the real research. Okay? I'm leading the pack, and all these fake jackass conservatives know it. They know it, and they can't stand it.
Alex, sometimes we get revved up. I get revved up sometimes, but you do it quite often. I mean, I don't mean this in an insulting way, but have you ever sought mental health treatment? Is that?
Yeah, you know what? America needs mental health treatment if they don't have a pulse. We're going into tyranny. We're giving $85 billion a month to foreign banks to bail out their fake derivatives that have infected our entire Social Security system. I'm angry about that, man. Listen, it was anger that founded this country. I'm the nicest guy with my children. I'm the nicest guy changing an old lady's tires. But I start thinking about the BS of somebody calling me a fascist because I got a pulse. Paul Revere rode through the night screaming to arms. The redcoats are coming. The British are coming. He said, get ready to kill people. George Washington signed death warrants on people and ordered people sniped. I'm not calling for that. The average American is the one that has the problem, who hears somebody red-blooded who has energy and who is angry. I'm in this to win it. I'm risking my life. I live in the real world. I've got a big heart pumping red blood through my veins. And I'm angry. And I'm focused. And listen, Governor Cuomo wants the guns. He yells and screams, and they all rally. They tell us not to get angry because they know that's where the victory is. They know that's where the success is. They know that's where the energy is. Okay? So I'm here to rally the Republic to awaken. Okay? I'm somebody that works 18 hours a day. I'm somebody who reads philosophy. I'm somebody who has awakened my mind. I'm somebody who's built my own media empire from nothing. And that's the American dream. That's what people should aspire to. And if it's mental illness to love liberty and to be angry, well, then I am. You know, if I teleported back to the Aztecs 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, and they were chopping kids' hearts out every morning, and I walked over and said, this is crazy. The sun will come back up. You don't have to sacrifice 50 kids. They'd say, man, you're crazy. You're loco. Well, you know what? I'll tell the Aztecs they're loco. I'll tell Hitler he's loco. I'll tell Lenin he's loco. I'll tell all these tyrants they're loco. And I'll tell people that, hey, don't like me getting angry? What Patrick Henry said, crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you. May your chains set lightly upon you, because I'll say what Colonel Travis said at the Alamo, victory or death. That's extremism, isn't it? Knowing a force of 10,000 people was coming, and he had 180. That's right. That's what this is. It's commitment. It's really living. It's loving innocence and the children enough to be willing to be a real man. That's what it's all about.
All right. I think the message is loud and clear, although I'm pretty sure the Aztecs didn't speak Spanish. But nonetheless, I get your point. Alex Jones Show.
They spoke Mayan. The point is, it's a joke.
I know. You can find the Alex Jones Show in a lot of the markets in the country. You can also find Alex at Infowars.com and also on YouTube, too. Alex, thanks for joining us on the Young Turks and giving us your perspective. I appreciate it.
And you're going to come on my radio show, you promised.
All right. It's a deal. Hi, this is Cenk Uygur. To see more of the Young Turks, go to current.com/getcurrent to make sure you get current TV.